r/datingoverthirty. Alkaline Eardrum says, does my situation make me undateable? I have a bit of peculiar life situation and am wondering if I should adjust my expectations accordingly. I'm a 30-year-old man living in a large Midwestern city. I'm a professional musician, bassoon, performing in orchestras in a couple states, and teach locally at a university as an adjunct professor of bassoon. I also work from home running an online music store, where I sell bassoon reeds wholesale to music suppliers, and individually across the US. I'm also writing my thesis for my doctorate in music. I live with aunt and cousin in a suburb, because rent is too expensive without a roommate or partner. It'd take about $45,000 to live in your own and it'd not be in a dangerous part of town. I moved here also because most of my extended family lives here. My dad is buried here, and mom, now in her mid-60s, lives in my hometown a couple hours away. I'm her only son, so I don't have any siblings to help me take care of her as she gets old, so I don't want to live more than a few hours away, if I can help it. I had a partner for about 3 years during grad school. She was in the same program as I was with almost identical career aspirations. We broke up in 2020 and it wasn't a happy situation when it ended at all. We still had some professional obligations too, which made things challenging as well. To date, she is my only long-term relationship, besides some dates here and there. Second longest was 3 months. In addition to the global pandemic, 2020 was the year I had surgery on my back and also finally got an official late diagnosis of being neurodivergent, at which I'm now in therapy for, in addition to anxiety and depression. I've put in a lot of work and had to grieve for a life that could have been easier if I had known, but I've made peace with that. I'm also working on losing weight because the back injury I had before finally being able to get surgery had kept me less active than I used to be when I would bike 10 miles at a time. I'm 6 and 310 pounds now. I finished my doctoral course at York and moved back to my home state in 2022. My uncle had died from COVID, so I moved in with my aunt and cousin and helped them out instead of paying a landlord. This way I can have a shot at saving for a house or at least a new car. I love my 2012 Elantra, but it's got 150k. I feel like my situation looks bad as a guy, since there is still the expectation that a man is a provider, even though I don't want children, and make that clear on my dating profiles. Dating is weeks of radio salience, a few matches, especially when I splurge and renew for premium for a while, but most convos fizzle, and most dates end and I'm ghosted. Once I got a second date though this year, so that makes me feel better. I can't help but feel cheated at making this transition in life suddenly alone, after supporting my partner through the same things. She is a bit older than me. We didn't end up moving in together, and I had no place else to go. I moved back home. I'm saving money. I'm in therapy and on meds. I walk every day and I'm watching what I eat more. I'm in the home stretch of a doctorate that will open up doors I'm qualified to knock on. I run my own business. I have a car that's paid off. I'm a friendly, warm, funny, creative person. I have something to offer. How open do I have to be about myself? I don't want to trick anyone by not disclosing my income or being neurodivergent. I feel like anything I do to present myself is somehow deceiving the man or setting me up for disappointment. I'd rather someone not bolt after months of building trust and a connection. I would rather they see me for what I'm quickly, so they can move on, and I can spare my feelings a bit. You can find photos of me on previous posts. Am I being too hard on myself? Should I adjust my expectations? What can I do? What should I do? Al0Isiashwa says, I'm 6 feet 2 and was almost 50 pounds heavier than you when I found my current partner. I'm severely been working on my undergrad longer than most people with doctorates, have been in higher ed, have a mood disorder, and was unemployed. I live on the edge of a large metro. You're projecting confidence issues from lack of experience and success, so lean into that. Get comfortable being uncomfortable and expose yourself to more experiences. Go to clubs, go on speed dates, go on meetups for singles, read about posting dating profiles and apps, discover some stuff about who you are romantically and sexually, read some books, but don't just wallow in your perception of your situation. If you find stuff you don't like, recognize why, reflect on takeaways, and move on. Not only will this help you understand more about what dating means for you, it'll make you more relatable to people looking for you. Thora Sutton says, yes, you're being too hard on yourself. However, don't let people sugarcoat it too much. Living with your aunt, weight, and back injuries will be orange to red flags depending on the women. Consistent Magician says, you're being too hard on yourself. You are fine how you are, and the things that you want to change, you are in the process of changing. Unfortunately, modern online dating has people thinking that they need to reach some standard of perfection, that is, had no life struggles in order to be eligible to even go on a date. It's ridiculous. It sounds like you are doing the best you can with what life is throwing at you. If your dating profile includes all what you've written here though, that might explain the radio silence. Make sure that you're not focusing on all your perceived deficits. Instead, focus on what you have to offer a partner, mentally, emotionally, etc., and most importantly what you are looking for. You sound like an interesting person. I bet you would do well meeting women in person through music related or other activities. Barbara Burbshaku says, the Lum lives with his parents in his childhood house. Career and income wise, if we ever end up together, I'd have to do most of the heavy lifting. Do I care? No. I just want him and wish these things mattered less to him, as his insecurity surrounding his situation is what has caused us to split. Thessa Contradiction 99 says, I don't think so, especially considering you are working on your doctorate right now. A lot of people end up moving in with family while they finish up their programs. As for your looks, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You're attractive, but not hook up from an app attractive. That's not a bad thing either, means you get to weed out the mess. If it were me, I'd go for women that are a little older who might be in similar life situations. Look, we are all going to have to take care of our aging parents at some point, if you're a decent human, but I think people who are in their younger 30s don't really understand that, and find it weird to be that close to family, especially for dudes. Also, take a break from dating, or the apps, until you're feeling a little more confident in yourself. It's not good to go into dating with an already low self-esteem. Take a break from it, and if you meet someone organically, great, but it sounds like you should just focus on yourself for a little bit. If you're wanting to lose weight, and think that'll help you feel better in your own skin, do that and then put yourself out there again. Feeling comfortable in your own skin does more than you'd think in the dating scene. r/datingoverthirty. Forsaken Matter 9623 says, have you read/heard Logan Urys' work, Hinge? What are your thoughts on her approach to dating in the modern age? Been dating again for 2.5 months after ending a 6-year relationship, and have really focused on learning more about myself and how to date, or learn how to date, in an intentional and genuine way. Bought her book a couple of weeks ago after hearing her on some podcasts and it immediately clicked with me. Would love to hear thoughts from those who have been dating for a longer time than I have. Is what she talks about actually relevant in the real world, or just in theory? Logical Bullfrog says, I agree with everybody who's saying they found a few valuable takeaways from the book. For me, it was the concept of not waiting until you feel fully ready for love, because dating today is such a process. You want some practice for when you're ready, and also if you wait until everything's 100% perfect, you'll be waiting forever. Maybe I'm too snarky/skeptical, but I didn't put a ton of stock into the book as a whole when she used her own life as an example because, as an unmarried woman in my 30s, I didn't think an unmarried person in their 30s could offer that much insight. For that, I prefer writers like the Gottmans or Esther Perel. It felt a little TED Talky. I'd recommend Sarah Reckles' It's Not You for a similar accessible applicable style, but interestingly different perspective. 2Stame00N says, I would love to read this book, do you mind sharing the name? The Mockster says, I read her when I started dating 2 years back. I feel her work was more addressed towards a female maximizer audience. I think in her interview a year back with Forrest Hanson, even she said as much that majority of her clients were successful maximiers when she was still writing the book. I personally think that understanding attachment theory and what secure attachment is plus understanding some of the modern underpinning on romance, from the likes of Esther Perel, Elaine D. Button, etc. Plus Mark Manson's model is more relevant to me a guy. Memelita says, I despise how she turned a very old, unrelated to dating, and a bit light on the evidence, attachment theory into a new version of the horoscopes. Somewhat Nuts says, I didn't find the book earth-shattering. A lot of very similar ideas are already being spoon-fed to me by algorithms, even though I don't actively follow dating couch types there. For me, the best thing was the very simple rule of deciding which IRL events to attend in hopes of also meeting someone new, friend or date, something I will love plus somewhere with a high chance of interacting with strangers. Both need to present common sense, but it helps to weed out attending things just for the sake of meeting people. If you aren't going to enjoy your time in general, it isn't worth it. I like the theory of the slow burn, but I know it isn't me. I'm attracted to someone during the first few hours of interacting with them, or I'll never be. Doesn't mean I fall in love at first sight, but if I'm not both keen to get to know someone and curious what it would be like to kiss them after the first date, I won't ever be. And sometimes I'm after the first date, but not the second or third, when I'll learn more. Has not happened the other way around though, have tried plenty of times. That's all for this video, thank you for watching, please subscribe.